All right, we are back. Hopefully, and it seems like my audio quality is pretty good on the last one. So, new microphone and new setup. I even have a nice little fun trophy from some of my past exploits. Thank you again, Lisa, for having those. But let's dive in. We have the Tabletop Tavern Materia Cup. This was in California. Always a fantastic event. Had a lot of fun at this last year, but obviously couldn't go this year. But let's see. The winner was Mike Powell playing the exact same list he played in Florida. He was laughing on Twitter. He's like, "Yeah, I get to become a band statistic now if anything ever happens to this list." I mean, there's just nothing to say here. The list is very, very clean. I think like my list has exactly two differences. I'm back on the one copy of Firewater Ferris. It's just an additional King Tycoon search target. I love my one copy of Golbez. I'm running one fewer copy of Zidane and one fewer copy of Lunith. And I think that's literally the only differences between my list and his. Uh, oh, he's on two Titus. I'm on three Leo. It's literally it. Other than that, lists are exactly the same. It's beautiful. This is about as strong a deck as I think the game has ever seen. Has an immaculate matchup spread. It's good against aggro. It's good against control. It is control. I just don't think there's much that consistently beats this deck, and I don't think even if you tech for it, I think it's very difficult to do. I think the biggest, if there is a flaw in this deck, it's that the forward count is very low, and the time to kill is very high. So you can, I do wonder if like an Earthwater Mill deck could just attempt to mill this deck out, but I also don't think that deck can survive the rest of the metagame. So I mean, the deck is really good, and Mike is an incredible player. The one other thing I will say is this deck does have a very, very high skill ceiling. You can see the difference between a good player of Raffia control and a bad player a mile away with the way that they preserve their resources, the way they make their decisions. And Mike is clearly at this point just ascended up to that level next to like Air and the other really, really strong Raffia pilots. Up next, we have this was first after Swiss was Brian Berkeley's Gigawall list. This is a fire, water, ice variant with a little bit of. It's kind of like it takes the old Alex Hancock's list, adds in a little bit of the text, like the mute for Sid Randell. I I do think if you're going to be on Sid Randell Shantoto, Arya should probably just not be Arya. That should just be Larsa, probably, like objectively, or like split them, like one Arya, one Larsa, in case you want to cast both of them. 13 water, it's a little scary. Like we're getting down there on the actual like playable water cards. I'm kind of like I said, I'm really not a fan of the water in Gigawall now. I really think that people should be experimenting with like fire, ice, lightning instead, because like the water cards outside of exactly Arya and Sarah, which are important, just don't hold their weight. Like Mog is like fine, Onion Knight is a card, and like Lena is fine, but like that's it. And we have to draw like two of these to make these cards work. I just don't feel like we're gonna be able to do that consistently enough anyway. So we should just be on like Meath instead, and like a lot of multi-element cards. I feel like at this point, if we really want to make this work. Um, I mean, it's Gigawall. It's consistent. It's powerful. It's very fast. I do like that we're not on the Tyvus variant because that means we do have outs to Sid Randell with Bahamut. We're really starting to recognize the threat that card is creating for the metagame. I love Vincent and Gigawall. I think it's one of the best hits you can do because it's like Zeromus in that it creates a taxing effect on your opponent that like they have to play through it. But you also kind of like if you hit like a backup plus Vincent, you can freeze down 2 or 3 backups and draw a card, and the opponent has no resources to deal with your new board, and your board has so much pressure on them. Limit Break deck looks pretty normal. I don't think there's anything I would change over here. Maybe a copy of Titus for like super late game, but I also don't think it's necessary. I think all of these are really, really good in Gigawall. So, yeah, I think almost everything else here makes sense. David Melendez, we have Earthwater Chaos Arc. This is kind of this is the kind of where this list has started going. It looks very similar to like Sam's and Mohammed's from Chicago. I think maybe like, yeah, I mean, it looks good. Ixion, we've got the 2 Clouds for our defensive limit breaks, 2 Leos, 2 Leelas, yeah. Very, very little to report here as far as like really surprising things. Only 1 Siren is like the only other thing that like really stands out. The 1 copy Mind's Flare, but that's kind of becoming standard because this deck can end up milling itself. So you can kind of use the Mind Flare to try to win a deck out war a little bit. If you can like loop it with Une or Man in Black some. Or like if you're in a mirror match, sometimes Mind Flare just says play Radia from your opponent's deck. Mono Earth Chaos Arc by Ryan Chen. I'm going to be honest, this is my second favorite deck in the format. I think that this list is absolutely incredible. 17 backups, all of which are really, really cool. Looks like we've swapped out the Carbuncle. No! Instead, we've gone with a copy of Vincent, I think is the new replacement there, probably to help with the Knights matchup a little bit, try to get a little less caught off guard there. It can be really nice to just kill Refia for doling a backup as well, although you don't really want to lose backups in this list. There is some other fun stuff you can do. We're not on like, yeah, we're not on Ignis. Yeah. Or like Neo X Death. But those are like other fun cards you can have. You can do interesting things with Vincent on. But no, I mean, this list is, it has the ability to ramp its backups. And once it ramps its backups, it very consistently has access to Leo Warrior of Light. And when it does, the game is over. Like, it's really, really cool. And if you have to play a control game, Chaos Arc is very good there. So you have the speed of like almost like a mid-range tempo deck, but like the control backbone that a lot of these other lists are missing. The 1 Fusoya, I've really come around. Like Fusoya in like these mono earth decks is so strong. I might maybe try to make room for like a Man in Black, but I don't know where I would put it. Like maybe over like the 3rd Titan, go to like 10 summons. Like Man in Black is just so strong. I think Man in Black with Arc is better than Une. And I think like even like suspending a Mist Dragon or a Titan would be really, really powerful. But yeah, the limit breaks all look really solid. Maybe, oh no, we don't have a lot of water this, so we don't have room for the second Leo. Yeah, and this looks really good. You need the 2 Tidus because this is a deck that like if the first one gets answered, you try again with the second. No, I really, really like this list and how it's looking. Almost no notes. Good job, Brian. This is another Earth Water Chaos Arc. 2 Chaos 2 Arc. If you're gonna brick on Chaos Arc, brick on Chaos Arc, my friend. Like here's how I've started like visualizing it and why you should run 3/3. Yes, you will brick more often being on 6 dark cards, but if you have just Chaos or just Arc, you're bricking. Like you need both. You need access to Arc with Chaos for the cards to actually do anything. And to do that, you need to maximize your chances of seeing them. If you see just Arcs or just Chaoses, they don't do anything. Play 3 Chaos Arc. I'm telling you guys, it's so much better. I really like seeing Anima, especially with the Yuna. I think this is so slept on in Chaos Arc lists. Again, because we're only on the 11 forwards, and like, you know, maybe we get like a Mott and 2 Leos out. We really don't have a lot of damage pressure. Anima, to make sure that we win the game in a deck out war by looping it with Man in Black or Une, it's such a different ball game at that point. The Thordins, the Kryles, yeah, everything else looks... Only 1 Loporrit? I can see it. I think that makes sense. I really like the number of summons in the list. But, yeah, just find the room. There are 2 cards that are worse than the 3rd Chaos, 3rd Arc. I promise you. Ooh, we have an Earth, Lightning, Warriors of Darkness deck with 33 bursts. Holy cow. Are you kidding me? 3, 4. Cloud 14L. Are we just showing off? What is he doing here? The full 3 Glaive, full 3 Aranea, 3/7 cost Odin, 3/5 cost Odin, 3 Kusith, 1 Ramu, 1 King of Bermesia, 2 Claris, 2 Kryl, 3 Reeve, 3 Tyro. That's 33 bursts, really. This does not feel like a 33 burst deck. I don't feel like we're really like stretching on it. So, taking a look at this. When I saw the Cindy, I was really expecting to see like a Kedar Bashtar, but we're not running him at all. It's just like Earth Lightning, Warriors of Darkness as a backbone to try to end the game. Yeah, so we're basically... This isn't... It reminds me a lot of like the Mono Lightning, like kind of aggro EX builds that were showing up around Opus 20 with like Shinryu. The idea being here is you're kind of a pseudo aggro deck that plays into other pseudo aggro decks really well. If your opponent tries to attack into you, you have 33 EX bursts, all of which are really, really potent. But if they don't, then Noct, like the gazillion copies of Noct and like Cindy and all these will end the game for you before your opponent has a chance to play. I've never been a fan of these lists, and I've seen like a lot of stuff like, I guess because we're playing a pseudo aggro deck, the Ascending makes a little bit more sense. Man in Black is just a decent-ish card to try to close out lethal. I'm assuming we just had a promo Cloud from last year that we wanted to show off. I really don't know why we're on this over a lot of other options. Similarly, I'm not really a fan of the Gilgamesh in this list. I think that if we're trying to play like a very hasty aggro game plan, I feel like there's just better things we could be playing in that situation. Yeah, it's not... Aggro's not the right word. But it's not really tempo, because I guess it is like tempo. Like Noct is kind of a tempo card. Like you stick Noct, and Noct like tries to win the game on his own. You kind of build around him. But I really don't think that that's the term that really fits with like the deck is like a hybrid of like a ramp and an aggro deck. Yeah, there's probably like I almost feel like a Sonon over the Gilgamesh would be really, really nice. Maybe like a Vanille as well. Add a little bit of taxing to the equation. Or like even like a Billy Bob. Like a Billy Bob would go really hard here. We kind of loop some of our payoffs here. While also helping his color fix a bit. Shout out to Kadaj as well. He has not shown up in a while. I was laughing. I hadn't seen Avid Children when I first started playing the game, so I thought Kadaj was a really cool card. It's like, oh wow, they got his character across so well, and then turns out the entire time all Kadaj does is cry. So, early 2000s Square Enix. Who knows what happened to them? Alex Early. I know he's been a big Earth, Water, Chaos Arc enthusiast. 2 Chaos. I'm going to. I love the rest of this list. It's so good. I'm looking at the rest of this. It's so good. Why are we on 2 Chaos, Alex? No. You know better. You're going to need the third. We're so close to greatness. Actually, like, if you add the third Chaos to this list somewhere, this is my favorite Chaos Arc list I think I've seen. I really like the 2 Sirens. I love that, like, we found room for 2 Man in Blacks as well. You gotta find that third Chaos. Like if it's me, I'd probably put it in over like Leviathan 14. Like we don't really need the burst here that much to win, I feel like. I mean, I feel like the burst count doesn't really matter until you get to about 20, and then you start like having bursting as a reliable like way of stalling out aggro. Because I don't see us at 16, I don't really value having a higher burst count anyway. So like I would just cut the third Levy Tarasu and then run the third Chaos. Just a clean swap. Just boop. And I think this list is like almost perfect. I love this list. 2 Loporrit, so good. Astrologian, kind of help dig. I might maybe like swap like the Astrologian for like an Artemisian as well. Like I'm not Astrologian's really really good, but I really like the ability to tuck back if you do end up breaking the Chaos and Arc, especially with stuff like Thornton, like being able to like mulligan for free in the late game with Astrologian actually is, or with Artemisian's really really powerful. You can see that definitely the NA meta is a lot more stabilized than the Australian one is. A lot more kind of similar-ish list to what we've been expecting. Gigawall looks almost identical. We are on Larsa instead of Arya. I don't like the Shantota backup at all. This is one that I don't like. Like, really, so rarely do I find that like Gigawall's problem is that like, oh, actually, I needed to kill a forward. And it's like, especially if you do this like proactively, if you have to hit Shantoto's going to snipe and kill your own thing half the time. Which I guess like maybe you're okay with if you get like a backup and like, and you know, a Zeromus, and then you like play a second Gigawall the next turn. But I think that sounds a bit more memey. I would just run like, whatever the lightning one is. Is it a? It's not a Dragoon, because the Dragoon is the lightning one, or the whatever. Yeah. There's definitely like a card that I think could be better than there. 2 Amaterasu, 2 Cucullin with 1 Moody, so we have our 3 Amaterasu copies effectively. Cucullin gives us an out to Sid Randell, although we need to find a removal spell when we actually do that. Oh, we're on like 4 color. We're still on the water to get the Gigawall, but we're trying to play stuff like Irvine, Diana, Stola. We're trying to play Lightning in our list. I mean, if you're going to do this, you should run Axis, I feel like, right? Like, isn't Axis the best Lightning? Like, Axis is the best Lightning card you can run in Gigawall. I'm, like, pretty convinced at this point. I would run that over, like, the Diana or the Irvine or something, but I don't really agree with that one. It's a really interesting take. I actually did not start putting together the quantity of Lightning cards in the list until now. But I really feel like if we're going to be on Lightning, we really, like, Axis is the first card that you put in Gigawall and Lightning. Okimoto, I know, is on the exact same list as Ryan Shen. Welcome back, Okimoto. It's good to see you again. Emerald Witch Control, I believe this is just Refia Control. It is. And very similar overall to the default. We're on the 3rd Mist Dragon. What did we cut for that? How do we have room for that? Into 2 Sarah FFL, 2 Kryl. 2 Kryl, 2 Ingus. So you lose an EX burst by doing that, but you do gain an extra, like, access to a name, which is not terrible. I don't hate that. Really don't think 3 Zidane is necessary, guys. Come on. I did actually try Vaughn over Zidane. I do think the Zidane helps a lot, especially if you expect a lot of Chaos Arc, and that's like the only thing I really like the Zidane against. But I mean, if you look at the tournament's meta, Chaos Arc, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Chaos Arc decks. So you probably should be on the Zidane right now. Rare footage of Ghoul admitting Zidane does something positive. Yeah. I like some of the ideas here. I don't hate the idea of Sarah too. I might try this at some point. This backup line seems really interesting. I cut 1 copy of Sarah to get the 2nd copy of Ingus in my list. It's a really interesting concept. I like that. I might steal that. Mono Water by Alex Grosso. We're on a Shinryu build. We're splitting our Shinryus. That's an interesting concept. I'll have to think on that a little bit. Porum, we're on the full 3 Lena, Blue Mage to pair with Warrior of Light, makes sense. 2 copies of the Fiend. This is kind of taking over the Tidus slot a lot. Cullen, Leviathan, Anima, Leviathan. Because we're on Anima, we're on Yuna. Makes sense. I actually think Yuna Forward, the new one, is very like underrated as just like a generic good stuff card in the way she enables Tidus. Like Tidus is such a win condition for mono water. But I do think that this is like still defensible if you're on the Anima package. If you're on like a much cheaper summon suite, maybe the forward Yuna is better. But I think with this, like Levi Tarasu is so much better with Yuna on field. Same for Anima. I think 6 cost Levy is just like burst, or like on rare situations you'll cast it. Like if your opponent's like on the Chaos Arc and you want to clear it without it. Monsters, the one's a Hagen Chief. It's reusable with the Blue Mage, so fair enough. I've liked 2 Hagen Chiefs lately. 2 Blue Worms, 2 Tomberries. Sure. 1 Tros, 1 Echidna. That all makes sense. 3 Loporrit, 3 Astrologian, 2 Alchemist, 1 Summoner. Yeah, I like her backups as well. I actually think this looks really, really sick. I might maybe go down 1 copy of Larsa for like an Artemisian, but other than that, it looks good. Another Gigawall list by the looks of it. Yeah, again, I mentioned in the Australia video, I really wonder if people are like overestimating this remedy and underestimating the remedy 13. I really do think that like there are games where you can just go turn 1 remedy, and if your opponent is on a Gigawall and they have to search the Gigawall, they have to play the Gigawall that turn if they can. If not, you can sit Randall and lock it out of the game while also taxing them. I don't know, like if you think about it, like this one's like when your opponent cheats a card, then they they can pay 2 or sacrifice it. The other one just says if your opponent searches, they discard. I think it's just a better effect. I really think that like this is the one of that people got really excited about. And KP even said it was like a last minute inclusion in his deck. I think this is just under experimented with. I think there's other options we can give it a shot there. Other than that, I would flip the Arya and the Larsas, but I understand why it's that way. Looks really good otherwise. So it's a very competent Gigawall list. Alright. Another Gigawall. Let's see if there's anything spicy here. No, this looks pretty normal. Again, I'm seeing a lot less Tyvis as well, which I think is better because you see all the Sid Randell showing up in the deck that's running Ice. So I think that Sid Randell is just omnipresent in the meta enough where we have to like recognize it's a thing. This looks like the Ryan Chen list by Patrick or by Nolan. I'm assuming Patrick's also on that as well. Yeah. A little sad to see Patrick not make Wind work, especially after it was first after Swiss in Chicago. But I really don't blame Patrick for not wanting to play Wind into a room that could have done a lot of other things. Something to note: not a single Knights player in Top Cut. I don't know if it's just there's like a weird thing with Knights, and I mentioned it before, but like its conversion rate historically has been really, really good, but its ability to win in Top Cut has been very, very poor. And I wonder if I know in NA in particular, people always joke, "Oh yeah, NA plays aggro, NA plays aggro, NA plays aggro." I really don't see that. I really see the NA's best players like Chaos Arc, Refia Controls, like even Gigawall. I really don't think is an aggro deck as much as it is like Tempo, or even like I think Gigawall is a very competent mid range game that people just don't respect. Like you can play Gigawall mid range and the deck still functions just fine. You're playing a lot of really powerful good cards. This is like pseudo. It's like like ramp aggro, but like the top cut of this list is either Control or Gigawall. With I guess outside of exactly this Megista list right here, which Megista is like a combo aggro deck. Like that has to mean something at that point, right? That like NA doesn't play aggro decks. Like either that or like the good players in NA are getting scared by Knight's inability to win tournaments outside of Australia, where the meta is so different and so radically shifting that there's not really a good comparison. So this would be a really fun tournament to play at, actually, because this would be a really grindy set of matches. I really enjoy this meta, actually playing it. Outside of exactly, like, playing against aggro in Final Fantasy is just really frustrating to me, because of how often it, like, boils down to, like, did you draw the out, and if you draw the out, the game is over. But this is not an aggro meta in North America. And NA does not play aggro. I don't really know where that reputation came from, because it just is not true. This is 62 players, and the top 16 had one aggro deck. You know, I guess maybe you could count these as aggro, but I really don't. I don't count. I do not think Giga Wall is the aggro deck of the format. Like I said, it's like mid-range aggro to me. All right, so we're on a Tyvis Megissa list. Love this. Minwoo is such a good card. I like maybe my favorite card of the set. Shout outs once again to Tori Kelly. Go check out the Gamers Command YouTube for his deck profile. But he made this card look really broken in Chicago. It's like really good with like cards like Ifrit 20. Lots of 3 costs to play. Surprised we're still on Forza. I feel like Word just completely displaces that card. Like anything that Forza does, other things are going to do already. Like you have like Ishtola or Axstar. Lots of ways to ping your own person. The one Lark is pretty standard. No Cyan. No Cyan. I don't like that. No Cyan. To me, Cyan is like one of the best cards in this deck because it gives you a board wipe without compromising the cards that work with Megissa. And even having any number of crystals makes the card actually pretty decent. Like, if you pay an extra 2 on its entry, it just pings for 6k if you needed to, right? Or like it makes it hard to block. I feel like we're kind of leaving something on the table with that. Especially like we're running the demon anyway. Like we're running a board wipe. Why not run the instant speed one that plays into our card engine? Especially at like 1. Like that probably seems like a really easy substitute over the Forza. Alfino, 2 Bosch, 1 Alfino. I would flip that. Squall, Therian to play off of the Tyvis. Tyvis is such a good card. The 3 Amats, the 2 Brunhilders, the 2 Ifrits. No monsters. We don't ping ourselves with monsters in this build. I've never really liked that because it means that like our first ping on Megissa, once we get it, doesn't feed her second. So one of the things you can do a lot of times in Megissa is ping, search out Alfino or a Bosch, and then you search out a Hedgehog Pie, and now you have your next 2 Megissa pings already lined up, on top of just being good utility cards. This list can't do that. We don't have a way of getting that. I don't really like that. 2 months actually seems a little high. You don't generally get a lot of backups in this. I would run like a second Victoria or something, or like Surges actually go really hard here. Surges with the Axstar to get the extra ping damage and kind of pop off a bit. But with that is all of the NA there. I will go through at some point and create some budget lists. I know that was a big request on the previous video, but yeah, thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and see you all in the next one.